Home and so very happy, Team GB's triumphant return. They stood proud with more medals than from any modern Olympics. On board, it was the national anthem, cheering and lots of champagne. There was even a bit of gymnastics, in first class, of course.
We can be proud of what we've done out there, so it's good to be home, really good. Can't wait to just actually see my family. I can see them now, so I'm happy.
Also tonight, ITV News exclusive. Staff shortages force 1 in 7 NHS trusts in England to suspend acute care.
Today, this train is completely round-packed.
A bit tricky. Virgin Trains have film of him also sitting comfortably. And
it's for you, Nana, the hockey player sharing her Olympic success with her doting gran.
This is the ITV Evening News with Alistair Stewart and Charlene White.
good evening. It was applause, cheers and hugs from loved ones today as Britain's record-breaking Olympians were welcomed home to Heathrow. There was a party atmosphere on board the 11-hour flight with singing, selfies, champagne and even some impromptu gymnastics in first class.
British Airways dubbed it Flight 2016 in honour of the Games and gave the jumbo jet a gold nose to honour the athletes. As it touched down, they sung the national anthem. Our sports correspondent Ian Payne on the heroes' return.
It was the homecoming of all homecomings, Britain's greatest ever Olympics outside London, with a gold-nosed jumbo jet to bring them. First out, two of the many gold medalists, gymnast Max Whitlock and boxer Nicola Adams, followed by the women's hockey team, and more and more and more Olympians until the entire steps and beyond were covered in medals. And what a flight they'd had. Before they took off from Rio, they were allowed into the cockpit. They were allowed to dress as cabin crew and give out drinks. Some wanted to think of home.
To be thinking I'm on the final stretch of going home, see my family, see my mum, my brother, and my dogs as well.
The hockey team sang along to the national anthem. And then a rendition of a familiar sporting chant they'd adopted. And the flight crew were entertained by a new gymnastics move, the flying Whitlock, first class of course. And at Heathrow, every vantage point in the arrivals hall was taken as friends and family filled it with Union flags and balloons. And finally, they were back.
It's good to be home, really good. Can't wait to just actually see my family. I can see them now, so I'm happy.
Time to reconnect with his girlfriend, Dad.
What's it like to have him home?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's nice to get him back. Lovely.
And Mum.
Oh, fantastic.
Amazing. I just want to get him home now, yeah.
Get him home. Keep him safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So Team GB's athletes are finally home. They've had a rousing reception. People have been here for hours waiting for them. And no wonder. It's the most successful games Britain has had in the modern era.
So now what? Well, some are getting married.
My mum's done a lot of the planning, and Heather's one of my bridesmaids, so she hasn't done any of it.
Did the hen do in Rio?
Yeah, we had a good hen do in Rio. Yeah, I mean, what a place for a hen do. We did we did a samba lesson, and we had a great time.
And some are hardly having a rest at all.
So I'm 3/4 away for the World Series, so I've got 2 more races to go, and then it's the end of the year, so mid-September I'll have a rest.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I've got a few races coming up in the next few weeks and then a rest.
But for everyone else, it's home, please. Ian Payne, ITV News, Heathrow.
And later in the programme, we'll have one very special reunion between an Olympic gold medalist and her dear Nana.
It's Samantha.
Hospitals in England have had to suspend maternity and other urgent services because of a lack of staff, ITV News has learned. 16 trusts have told us that in the past 12 months, they've suffered a severe shortage of doctors and nurses, forcing them to take extreme measures.
As our health editor Rachel Younger reports, many hospitals are facing a daily battle to find enough staff.
It's a numbers game being played out in our hospitals. More patients means the NHS must find more staff, but when they can't, ITV News has uncovered the drastic action being taken when the doctors and nurses they have can't fill the gaps.
On the 18th, I did another long day.
Obstetrician Reena Agarwal does that regularly, working 13 out of the last 15 days. But some shifts are still badly understaffed.
I'd be in the middle of doing one thing and then I get called to do another thing and then I get called to do another thing. And I just, and you feel like you just feel very dissatisfied because you don't feel like you're giving anyone your full attention.
And when you have those shifts, are you operating right at the margins of patient safety?
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are.
And without enough staff to cope, ITV News has discovered more hospitals are opting for the last resort. We asked every hospital in England if they'd suspended any acute services due to shortages of doctors and nurses in the past year. Of the 112 who responded, 16 said they had, on some occasions repeatedly. Among them, Airedale NHS Trust, which suspended maternity services 11 times in 12 months. East Cheshire, which suspended its maternity service twice and paediatric services 19 times. And the Princess Alexandra in Essex, where the stroke unit hasn't opened since April. It also includes Chorley Hospital, whose decision to downgrade its A&E has meant more patients at Preston, where Joy, who has cancer, waited for 5 hours.
I just wanted to die, to be quite
She asked me, am I dying, Mary? The ambulances were piling up outside, 4 or 5. They couldn't even get into the corridor because the corridor was absolutely packed with trolleys.
That's not many. How many beds?
No, because I've got 20 beds.
But even hospitals who have kept services open say it's getting increasingly tough to find enough staff.
It can take literally hours of our HR colleagues and our managers working together, working with the people that provide agency doctors and agency nurses, hours each day just trying to make these rotas safe.
No hospital wants to put its patients at risk. But if there aren't enough staff to go round, providing safe care is going to require some very tough decisions.
So what's the NHS said about those findings, Rachel?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because during the junior doctors' dispute, we heard repeatedly, didn't we, from the Department of Health, that understaffing wasn't a problem. No such dismissal of all this today. In fact, they directed us towards NHS Improvement, who are responsible for regulating the hospitals. NHS Improvement said the safety of patients has to come first, and they told us that these hospitals are right to have taken the steps they have to ensure that patients are protected. As for the individual hospitals themselves, East Cheshire pointed out that although in their case some of these suspensions were repeated, they were on occasion a matter of hours only, so rather short. Airedale admitted this is far from ordeal, but said they had apologised to every single patient who had been affected there. But I think the important thing about this is that it's very difficult now for the Department of Health to continue dismissing these staff shortages. In fact, many chief executives I've spoken to said if they are not confronted, we are going to see more of these suspensions.
Rachel, thank you.
Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has been accused of falsely suggesting a train was so packed he had to sit on the floor. He was filmed sitting by the doors of a Virgin Trains service to Newcastle 2 weeks ago and said it showed why Britain's railways should be renationalised.
But, as our political correspondent Paul Brown reports, Virgin cried foul and released CCTV pictures of Mr Corbyn walking past rows of empty seats.
Jeremy Corbyn's no fan of privatised railways, and when he caught this train to Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, every packed seat certainly helped make his point. The only question is whether he knew all this was stretching it a little too far.
Today this train is completely ram-packed. The staff on the train are absolutely brilliant, working really hard to help everybody. The reality is there's not enough trains, we need more of them.
Sitting on the floor between carriages looked great on camera, but turns out there was less convenient footage too. Today Virgin Trains released this CCTV, which implies the floor wasn't the only space available, as a short while later Mr Corbyn finds the comfort of a seat. When he got on the train here in London, the footage suggests Jeremy Corbyn walked straight through several carriages with empty spaces, making his way right to the back of the train to film his video. Then, 15 minutes later, and job done, he returned to Coach H to take a seat. Jeremy Corbyn's team say he only found a space after a family was upgraded to first class, but earlier CCTV does appear to show him walking past empty seats.
I think what's unclear in the CCTV footage is that there was either luggage or possibly children sitting on all of those seats, so there simply weren't any seats available. I was there travelling with Jeremy.
So why do you think Virgin Trains have released this CCTV image then if it's not actually representative of what happened?
I mean, that is a very good question. On the second day after the ballots for the Labour leadership election went out yesterday, lots of people are voting today, and it seems curious to me that Richard Branson and Virgin Trains, obviously, who are opposed to Jeremy's policy on public ownership of the railways, have chosen today to kind of present this skewed version of events.
But Virgin Trains say we have to take issue with the idea that Mr Corbyn wasn't able to be seated on the service, as this clearly wasn't the case. We'd encourage Jeremy to book ahead next time he travels with us, both to reserve a seat and to ensure he gets our lowest fares. But Jeremy Corbyn may be paying for last week's seat for a little while longer. If he thought sitting in the aisle was bad enough, stretching the point hardly makes him look any more dignified. Paul Brandt, ITV News.
A court has heard two supporters of the so-called Islamic State murdered an imam because they viewed his practice of healing as black magic. Jalaluddin suffered multiple head and face injuries after an attack in a park in Rochdale in February. Mohammed Hussein Saidi denies murder. A second defendant has fled abroad.
A soldier has died after being shot during a live fire training exercise. It happened last night at the Otterburn military ranges in Northumberland. His family has been told. Well, Martin Geisler is live at that training area for us tonight. What more, Martin, has the Ministry of Defence said?
Well, they haven't said very much, Alistair. An investigation is underway at the moment. What is not underway anymore is that live fire exercise. It ended, we think, in the last 10 minutes or so, because a red flag had been flying on this flagpole behind me. It has just been taken down. It is used all the time, right through the year. This massive facility in the moorland of Northumberland, 60,000 acres. 1,600 soldiers, we're told, have been involved in exercises here over recent days. The exercise that happened last night, though, 5 hours through the dark, went tragically wrong. A soldier from the Royal Regiment of Scotland shot in the head just after 11 o'clock last night. Colleagues went to his aid, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The police and the MOD now investigating. They aren't saying much more at this stage, and they're unlikely to, I suspect, until those investigations are complete.
Martin, thank you. Still to come on the ITV Evening News, the study which claims the combined HRT drug increases the risk of breast cancer. And
I promised you, didn't I, that I'd come back with a gold medal.
Yeah.
And I'm so, so glad that you can see it now.
A golden reunion between an Olympic medalist and the nana who inspired her. All those wonderful stories and more after the break. Welcome back. The father of an 8-year-old boy killed in a grenade attack whilst on holiday in Sweden has told ITV News he's heartbroken. Yusuf Wasame, who's from Birmingham, died as he slept at a relative's house in Gothenburg. Police think he was the innocent victim of a gangland feud. Juliet Bremner has more.
8-year-old Yusuf Wasame was on holiday with relatives in Sweden when he was fatally injured. An innocent victim asleep on the floor of the living room in this block of flats when a grenade was thrown through the window. Most probably, he was caught in the middle of a gangland feud. At the family shop in Birmingham's Sparkhill, his father spoke of a bright, loving little boy.
Your heart is broken. The son, you was a lovely boy. He was a hard worker. He loved his education. He was a sports, he liked sporty.
In Sweden, police are horrified that a child was caught in a fight between local criminals.
It's disgusting. I wonder how a person can deliberately throw a hand grenade into an apartment when they haven't a clue about who and what is inside.
Families in the Biskopsgatan district of Gothenburg were reassured by community police. This is the latest in a series of attacks, including cars being deliberately set alight and shootings. One of the men seen here carrying out an armed attack on a local pub used to live in the block of flats where Yusuf was killed, according to Gothenburg police. But it was Yusuf, a little boy from Britain who celebrated his birthday just a week ago, who took the full force of this blast. 2 other members of his family are recovering from minor injuries. Juliet Bremner, ITV News.
The chair of Ofsted has quit after describing the Isle of Wight as a ghetto where there was inbreeding. David Hoare was caught on tape making the remarks about the island at a teaching conference. He apologised earlier this month, but has since faced calls to resign.
The controversial badger cull is to be extended after a trial in 5 new areas across England was reportedly given the green light. The government believes it will help eradicate bovine tuberculosis, which affects cattle.
And the former boss of BHS has been banned from driving for 6 months for speeding. Dominic Chappell told Aldershot magistrates he would struggle to afford taxes, despite declaring an annual income of £250,000.
Women taking the most common form of hormone replacement therapy are almost 3 times more likely to develop breast cancer.
A study of 39,000 women suggests the risk of taking the combined treatment is much greater than previously thought. And as Nazanin Masheri now reports, there are calls for women to be given clearer warnings.
Hormone replacement therapy has helped relieve the menopausal symptoms of millions of women. Over the years, there have been warnings about the combined pill, but now a new study says those risks were underestimated. Pat Sutherland has terminal breast cancer. She took the combined pill for 9 years in the 1980s. She was never warned about the dangers.
I was assured at the time that it was something of a wonder drug and that it could do everything from curing menopausal symptoms to keeping our hearts and our skin and our brains young and healthy.
1 in 20 women in their 50s use HRT. This new research shows that for those on the combined pill, the risk of cancer increases 2.7 times after 5 years compared to those taking nothing or the estrogen-only pill. The risk is even bigger after 15 years or more. Women are 3.3 times more likely to develop cancer. There have been many similar studies which adds to the confusion, but experts say previous research lacked proper follow-up information.
It's absolutely essential that women have choice about how to manage their menopausal symptoms. And for some women, that will mean taking HRT in spite of the breast cancer risk, because that's how they have to cope with their lives. And this study just provides a higher quality of evidence to help in that choice.
NICE, the health watchdog, has told doctors at surgeries such as this that they shouldn't change the way they prescribe HRT for now. It agrees that combined HRT can be linked to an increased risk in breast cancer, but says that risk goes down once women stop taking the pill. Women suffering from the menopause are now better informed, but they're being offered a difficult and possibly life-changing choice. Nazanin Masheri, ITV News.
And finally, when Britain's Olympic heroes arrived home today, 1 gold medal wanted to share the moment with someone very special. Hockey player Sam Quek was desperate to see her 95-year-old nana, Dolly, who'd had a stroke days before her final match.
Sam dedicated her medal to her and wanted Dolly to be one of the first to see it. Damon Green was at their emotional reunion.
While some gold medalists were basking in the glow of a glorious homecoming, there were some who just wanted to get home. Non-stop from Rio, Sam Quek took her connecting flight to Manchester, then got a lift to the Wirral, where her grandmother Dolly was waiting on a hospital ward.
Hi, Nana. Hi, Nana. Oh, Samantha.
Oh, lovely, darling.
Oh, how are you, Nana? I promised you, didn't I, that I'd come back with a gold medal.
Yeah.
And I'm so, so glad that you can see it now.
Oh,
And I've got you some flowers. I just stopped off for them and I made sure they were GB colours for you. And the most important thing is a medal, which I think you probably should have one of these yourself for what you've been through the past few weeks, Nana.
Just look at.
Dolly had suffered a stroke just before the women's hockey last Friday, but it didn't stop her listening to the match at her local pub on Merseyside. Sam's victory and her gold medal she dedicated to her nana. Her family hadn't told her how ill Dolly had been, but today she could show her the spoils of her Olympic adventure.
Yeah, you hold this in your hand. You hold it tight, Nana, yeah? And I'll put it over your head. There you go. There you go, here's the real champion. And my nan was always there to hear all the stories, saying, come on, Sam, keep going, there's worse things going on in life and stuff. And that advice has just got me, where we are today.
What's that gold medal feel like in your hand? What do you think?
Oh, really heavy. Really heavy. And isn't it nice that I can watch it? Isn't it nice that I can just have that and hold it?
Dolly Higgins, the only 95-year-old in Clatterbridge Hospital, wearing a gold medal this evening. And that's because Samantha, her granddaughter, won it for her. Damon Green, ITV News, on the Wirral.
And if you want to see that emotional reunion in full, then go to our website, itv.com/news.
That's all for now. While we calm down from that, Tom Bradley will be here with news at 10.
But from all of us, a very good evening to you.